tuning in, which is really, really fantastic to see, and we're really happy about that. And it's great to see so much enthusiasm and commitment from you guys to the programs that you're going to be doing at the end of the year. So thank you very much. We know and we realise it's a really busy time of year for you, what with exams and assignments due and everything. So thank you, and welcome aboard. So if you haven't already figured out, this is Catherine speaking. So most of you may or most likely have spoke to me at some point throughout the year so far. And tonight I'm talking to you live from our headquarters in Chatswood in Sydney. It's 6:00 here, and it's been an absolutely gorgeous day. And thanks to daylight saving, the sun is still shining, and it's clear blue skies. So just to introduce myself properly for those who don't know, I manage some of the UniBreak countries and projects. So the ones that I'm overseeing is Borneo, India, Palampur and Mumbai, all of Nepal and all of the Maldives. I have been working for Antips now for almost a year, and I absolutely love it. And prior to that, I was doing a bit of work overseas in a few other countries, such as Fiji and Cambodia, working on very similar projects like you guys are going to be doing, and working with volunteers as well. And like you, when I was at university, I was lucky enough to have the chance to volunteer as well. My first trip was to Mumbai in 2005, I think. And I also had the chance to go to Nairobi. And for me, volunteering was by far the most challenging thing I have ever done. It was so unbelievably tough, really, really hard. But at the same time, it was by far one of the most inspiring things I've ever done, and by far one of the most worthwhile and rewarding things I've done as well. And when I look back, I honestly feel like I learned so much more than I ever expected I would learn. And I feel like what I learned in that month that I was overseas was probably just as much or more than what I learned in the whole time that I was at university. So I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing, and I think you're in for a real adventure. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I know exactly how you're all feeling right now. For the November team, I can't believe it's only a month till you go, a month today till you start your project. And for the November teams, it's still a couple of months away. But I know the feelings that you're all going through. You must be so excited, but at the same time pretty nervous as well, which is completely normal. And for those of you leaving in January, it is definitely a good time to start getting organised now. And so hopefully the information that I provide to you tonight will give you a little kind of kick along and give you some inspiration to start thinking about it. For those going in November, well, you should probably be organised by now, I hope. I think I've received flight details, itineraries, insurance, passports from most of you, but we'll go through those things later on in the talk tonight. So at the end of the year, we've got volunteers from all over Australia and New Zealand heading off to different countries all around the world, some as exotic as the Maldives, Borneo, Vietnam, India, Nepal, Cambodia, and even as far away as Ghana, Kenya, Mauritius, and Peru. What the aim of this webinar is to basically cover and go through all of the general information that applies to everyone going to every destination. So please keep in mind that it's not destination specific, but the stuff that we're going to cover will be specific in a general sense, I guess. So we're going to cover what the role of Antipodeans is, what the role of our in-country partners are. So you're going to hear the phrase ICP a lot from me, which means our in-country partners. We're going to talk a bit about what's going to happen on arrival, orientation, what your role on the project's going to be, a bit about cultural sensitivity, safety, health, communication, money, insurance, fundraising, packing, and paperwork. Hopefully we'll be finished within about 45 minutes to an hour. I definitely won't go over an hour, so don't worry. And just so you know, for the country-specific face-to-face workshops, we're going to be starting those this Saturday. So we've got the first set happening in Sydney, which is going to be on Saturday and Sunday. And then we're heading down to Melbourne and Adelaide the following weekend and up to Brisbane the weekend after that. So by now you should all have the times and the dates that all of those workshops are happening. So keep an eye out on the Facebook group page, and also just keep checking your emails for any updates. But we really, really encourage you to come along to those, because that's where you're going to get information about specific details about the project or the clinic or the hospital that you're working at or the school that you're at. So just bear in mind that those workshops are quite important. We're also in the process at the moment of sending out all your pre-departure packs. So just so you know, you'll either receive yours in the mail or you'll receive it at the face-to-face workshop. I sent out all of my Nepal teams today, and Palanpur as well. So you guys should be getting those in the mail within the next couple of days. So anyway, so sit back, get comfy, grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine, and feel free to ask as many questions as you like by typing into the little box on the corner of your screen. Alison is sitting right next to me, and she's going to do her best to answer those questions. But just bear in mind, we've got around about 100 of you guys online, so if she takes a little while, just be patient, please. So here we go. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So for those of you who've spoke to us and wondering what we look like, here's some nice, lovely photos of our little UniBreak team. So top left is Fiona Reeves. Fiona's been working with Antips for a very long time. She worked and lived in Vietnam, and she has her operations hub in Perth. So for those who are living in Perth, she'll be running your pre-departure workshops. And she should have been in contact with you by now. Sophie also manages Mauritius. The bottom right is the lovely Lucy. And for most of you who booked, you probably would have spoken to Lucy before you signed the dotted line. Lucy does all our sales and marketing. The top right is myself, a nice blurry photo. And bottom left is the lovely Alison, who just wants to say a little hello to all of you.
Hi everyone, it's Alison here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I couldn't help but just jump in and say hello. So yeah, just wanted to say I hope you're all well and getting excited about your trip. Not long to go now for the November group. Wanted to give a big shout out to all the lovely volunteers from my team, going off to Cambodia, Vietnam, Peru, India, Goa, that is, as well as far away as Ghana. So that's quite a big mix. As Catherine mentioned, I will be answering questions. So please use the little box on the corner of your screen, and I'll do my best to get back to you. All right, enjoy the evening. Okay, bye.
Cool. Okay, so this is just a lovely photo of myself and our in-country partner, who is based on Tinadu, which is the island in the Maldives that we've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years. So this slide is just quickly talking about, or giving you guys a breakdown of what we're going to do for you prior to your departure and during your placement. So we work closely with these people called our in-country partners. These are basically local people who know the country like the back of their hand. They're the experts on the ground, and we work with them to set up projects and opportunities for you guys that are sustainable and that are worthwhile. And I guess a lot of the projects that we've been working on for, at least the last couple of years, and some even the last 6 or 7 years. A lot of these projects we're really quite proud of as well. We work with our in-country partners. Our in-country partners, a lot of them are quite unique to us. A lot of them have a lot of history with Antipodeans and are really quite special to us. So we really encourage you to do your best to get to know them and to work alongside them. We do our best to place volunteers in the projects all year round. So we don't just kind of send volunteers to a project once and then not have anything to do with that community for the rest of the year. So, for example, in the mid-year programs that we ran, we had volunteers in Cambodia and the Maldives, Nepal, and we also have gap students all throughout the year in all of our countries as well. So we ensure that there's kind of like continual support to the projects all year round. So the work that we do is kind of ongoing, and you guys make up a small piece in that puzzle. When we are setting up these projects with our in-country partners, I guess the safety and security of who we have on the ground is really important to us. Who's looking after you and who's going to be responsible for you. So we have, kind of like an extensive risk management in place as well. We do give you as much information as possible before you go, and a lot of that information is going to be coming to you in your in-country manual. And we do this to try and help you feel and to get as prepared as possible. A lot of this information is packed full of useful ideas, handy hints, tips from past volunteers, and there is a lot to digest. So when you get your in-country manual and all of the other things that come with it, just take a couple of hours out of your day to sit down and really go through all of it, because every little bit is important. And we really encourage you to read everything before you get on that plane. Preferably, I'd love you guys to actually have read it before the pre-departure workshops, but that might be a bit too much to ask. And basically, we're here if you need us for any questions. I guess in some ways, it'd be kind of boring if you knew everything that was going to happen in country, because I guess the reason you kind of signed up for something like this is, well, because you're probably an adventurous type of person, and I don't know, you want to find out for yourself what it's going to be like. But questions are good, even if it's just things as simple as, should I take a backpack or a suitcase, or is it okay to wear a bikini? Basically, we are here to help you guys, so we're just an email or phone call away. Another way for us to all stay in touch and to get all your questions answered is through the Facebook group page, which really gets everyone chatting. So if you haven't found us already, make sure that you friend request either myself, Catherine Antipodeans, or you can friend request Alison at Alison Antipodeans, or you can also friend request Fiona, and you can guess her name is Fiona Antipodeans, or whoever you have the most contact with. So far with the Facebook group pages, I have been so impressed with the level of enthusiasm and support that has been generated on the pages. And I really hope it continues, because creating this sense of teamwork and friendship even before you guys get there is going to be central to the success of the project in country. This is so important no matter where you're going, but I like so much more so as well for those projects that involve health education work and health promotion work, because with that type of program, you really have to work together as a team, plan lessons as a team and work towards your strengths and your knowledge and your abilities. So I can't encourage you guys enough to use the Facebook group page and start getting to know each other now. And once you are on the ground, obviously a lot of the support gets handed over to our in-country partner. And basically you're going to see a lot more of the in-country partner than you will of us. But I guess during the placement, we're still here and we still stay involved. So, for example, we offer 24-hour support and backup throughout your placement. So if you or your parents or any of your next of kin have any questions or are concerned about anything, they can call our 24-hour number at any time of the day. If you're sick or you lost your passport or whatever the issue, we will know about it. We do monitor the placement, and we'll also send updates to the next of kin while you're overseas. So that's good news for your mum and dad. We also will offer support to you guys. So if you've got a problem in country, or if the in-country partner hasn't solved something that has been niggling at you for a couple of days, and you can just email Alison or myself, and we will do our very best to fix the problem. So once you're on the ground, our in-country partner will oversee everything, from logistics to placement to sorting out problems, taking you to the doctors. They will be your, surrogate mum or dad, basically. The partnerships that we have with these guys, like I said already, are really quite unique to us and special. And some we have been working with for over 10 years. Our in-country partners are generally amazing. And like I said, all of them are local people, or most of them are local people to the area, and are really passionate about what they do, whether that's sustainable development or whether they work in the healthcare industry. They're all really quite passionate about what they do. And so as such, they know the destination and they know the projects inside out. So the picture that's on your screen is a picture of Davey, who will be coordinating those guys going to Cambodia. In Hanoi, we work with a lovely lady called Fong, who we've been working with for a very, very long time. And the local organisation she works for that we partner with runs a lot of our projects and does some amazing work, particularly up in the villages in the Sapa region, northeast of Hanoi. But it's a fantastic organisation, really, really grassroots, and we're really proud to be working with them. In Borneo, the main point of contact for you guys is going to be Holly, who I've told you guys all about. She's going to be running a jungle training and living right out in the jungle with you guys for the whole month. We also have some fantastic partners in Mumbai. Up in Palampur, we've got Bobby and Amit, who are fantastic trained professionals in their field. So one's a dentist and one's a physio, and as such, they've got some amazing contacts in the health industry, which is great for volunteers. In Kathmandu and Pokhara, we have some really fantastic local partners, particularly Sonam, who's in Pokhara, who's a Tibetan refugee, and being up in Pokhara will be an amazing experience for you guys. You'll have that experience of living and learning about the Tibetan culture and the Tibetan history, as well as being able to immerse yourself in the Nepali lifestyle. We have some pretty cool people on the Maldives. Assad, he's just a pretty cool guy, typical Maldivian, very relaxed and laid back and, just very, very chilled, lives an island life. And our newest member of the team is Suna, who is based on the new island of Hitadu, where we've got the first team going in November. Suna's fantastic. She's got a beautiful little boy who's only a couple of years old, and she's really, really keen, enthusiastic to have you guys on board. Peru, Jane is this amazing Australian woman who set up her own organisation, which no doubt you'll learn a lot more about in your pre-departure workshop. In Ghana, we have Tina and Seth, who have been working with us for, well over 10 years now. And in Kenya, we've got a fantastic guy called Depesh. So during your placement, if you have any problems, I can't encourage you enough to talk to them and talk through it with them. If you feel like you're overworked, or if you saw practices in the hospital or at the school that you didn't feel comfortable with, or it's not what you expected, then it's important that you talk to them, because I guess if you keep it in and until you all come back, it kind of just boils up, and it'll create more and more of a problem. So it's really good to be able to clarify any misunderstandings and talk to our in-country partners. We really, really want your trip to be successful, and we want you to have an amazing time. And us, as well as the in-country partners, will do everything possible for you guys to make that happen. But if we don't know there's a problem, then basically we can't fix it. So if you don't feel comfortable, essentially, if you don't feel comfortable talking to the in-country partner about your problem, then we're here as a backup. So we're also here. Myself and Alison are on call, or you can email us if you've got any issues as well, and we'll do our best to sort them out as well. So this slide is just to talk a bit about what's going to happen when you guys arrive. I remember the feeling when I arrived into Mumbai. I was 18 at the time, never ever travelled overseas by myself before. The furthest I'd been was Vanuatu with my family. And my flight arrived at 10 o'clock at night, and I walked out of the airport and was hit by a wave of heat. I was hit by a sea of people staring and what felt like yelling at me, trying to get me to go into their taxis, and a smell that was slightly intoxicating. The airport in Mumbai, for those who are going to Mumbai, is surrounded by very, very poor slums, and as such, most people are greeted by this on their arrival. And I felt a total flood of relief when I saw the person who was picking me up to take me out to the project. And I thought to myself, I don't know what I would have done without this. And I'd got over the first hurdle, and from then I felt a little bit calmer. So for you guys, arriving into a foreign airport can be extremely daunting. So you can be rest assured that you will always be met at the airport by our in-country partner. If you are arriving early or later, you need to make sure you tell us what your plans are, or we'll be hassling you for those plans soon, because we might be able to help. So in most countries, we can still pick you up and book you into a hotel early, or just depends on what country. So please just let us know what your plans are. And definitely for those going in November, please send us through your flight itinerary if you haven't already done so. On your way over there, please try and remember to wear your Antipodeans t-shirt, which we have posted some out today, or we'll give it to you at the pre-departure workshop, the face-to-face one. The t-shirt is quite important, basically because the person who's collecting you has obviously never met you guys before, and airports tend to be really busy and there's people everywhere. So that's one reason, but another reason is also because you might be on the same flight as another Antip student. So it'll be kind of fun to be able to see each other and spot each other out from a crowd. we will email all of you guys out each other's flight details before you go, so you'll get to know, you'll find out if anyone's on the same flight. And Ali and I will do that within the coming weeks for the November groups. So when you're at the arrivals gate or when you enter the arrivals hall, just where you'll have your Antips t-shirt on, but also look out for someone holding the Antipodeans welcome sign. In most cases, the person will speak English, but depending on where you go, that might be very basic English, or it may be fluent. And definitely have your emergency card handy and your in-country manual handy as well. So if you have any problems locating the person picking you up, you can call the in-country partner, or you can call us to ask for help, and we can get someone out there straight away. This rarely happens, but it's still good to have it there as a backup. Some airports that you fly into can definitely be quite chaotic as well, and you'll probably get approached by random taxi drivers who want you to get in their cab and they'll take you to the nice hotel, or people will come up to you claiming to be porters and offering for you to carry their bags. It can be quite overwhelming, but just say politely, no thank you, be assertive and just walk away, especially those who want to carry your bags, because they will ask you for money afterwards, and it is pretty annoying. So once you're picked up, you'll be transferred to your accommodation, whether that's a hotel or to a guest house or host families. And for the rest of the day, you'll meet, the group as they come filtering in. So the first day of the project is kind of just the arrivals day. So I guess, not a lot really happens. Everyone's kind of a bit tired and finding their place and getting to know each other. But usually by the evening, everyone's kind of settled in, and you might like to have a group dinner together somewhere, or I'm sure that, in some cases, dinner's provided for you. And the following day, you will start your orientation. So depending on where you go, the first day or 2 days is pretty much just your orientation. And it's basically an introduction to the local culture. And depending on the country, it can also be a bit like a sightseeing tour, or even a full-on intensive cultural immersion program, where you'll learn about language and things like that. But generally, what we cover in orientation is a local area. So you'll get to know how to catch the bus or the tuk-tuk or dala or the tro-tro or the cyclo, whatever mode of transport you'll be getting. You will learn a bit about the culture and the language. You will learn a bit about the history. The in-country partner will talk you through the different projects and placements and how it's all going to work. He'll probably point you out to the local restaurants, tell you which ones are okay to eat and which ones are dodgy that you should never go into. He'll show you where the local internet cafes are. They'll help you get some cash out from the bank, show you where the ATMs are. If you are getting a local SIM card for your mobile phone, then they can help you arrange that as well. They'll run through what to do in an emergency, run through sickness and health, religion, and things like that. Basically, we ask that you use this session to kind of get your bearings, and to kind of just get your foot in the door. Particularly with the language, like you will have a little bit of language lessons, but don't stress about the local language. No one is expecting you to become fluent in your time there at all. And in most countries that you're going to, English is kind of widely spoken by the population as a second language. So in most countries, particularly in Asia, you'll be able to communicate with local people on a very slow kind of level. So you have to be very patient and you'll have to go back to basics, but you should be okay. But nonetheless, it's really good to have some of the local language under your belt. Use the orientation for this, but also, maybe purchase a local, like a Lonely Planet book or something like that, that might help you as well. And even if like you can't pronounce the words correctly, it's always a good icebreaker, and the kids at the school that you're working at will probably find it quite amusing that you're trying to say something in the local language. Um, so, yeah, do your best to learn a little bit of the local language before you go. It's also like a sign of respect. And as soon as the locals see that you can, speak a little bit of the language, you'll have, instant respect from them as well. Our in-country partners will also, help you talk about weekend trips and anything like that as well. So basically, in the orientation, be proactive and ask questions. And hopefully, by the end of it, you won't look like a naive tourist, but hopefully, you'll look a bit more like a local, and also feel a bit more like a local. But don't stress, the orientation can actually be quite overwhelming as well, which is why the in-country partners are obviously on call 24 hours a day if you need anything at all. So this is probably, I think, one of the most important slides of the presentation. And I think reflecting on your experience after you go is really important. But I think being prepared and really thinking about why you chose this program is also just as important. It's really, really important for you guys to adequately kind of manage your expectations. I guess people who volunteer go for so many different reasons, and obviously it is personal to everyone and to each different person. But generally, a uni break can complement your degree. It gives you an opportunity to learn outside the classroom, learn things that you can't learn in a textbook, and also widen your perspective and possibly gain some hands-on experience to some degree. But you guys have to remember that A, you're not qualified, and B, you're only going for a very short time, so the amount that you can achieve is going to be quite limited. So hence, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is you must go with realistic expectations about what you can achieve in such a short period of time. And you may even find, which is 100% what I found, and a lot of people come back and say the same thing, that you probably will gain more from the experience than you are able to give. A perfect example is one of the speech students who went to Mumbai last year. She kind of went over not really knowing what to expect. And when she went over there, I guess you kind of hit the ground, and when you see what the reality is like over there, you kind of fall in a heap and realize, God, there's so many problems and I cannot change anything, particularly in a month. So this volunteer was at a school for kids with special needs, and there was one girl there who had not spoke a word like for the last 3 or 4 years. She did not speak or make any sounds. And this speech student worked with this little girl the whole time. A lot of one-on-one attention and a lot of one-on-one work went into working with this little girl. And then by the end, the girl was making sounds, and smiling and laughing a bit more as well. And she said that was the hugest achievement that happened while she was there. And while that seems so unbelievably small, you really have to put it into perspective and keep in the back of your mind that you are a piece of a bigger puzzle. We have uni breakers going to Mumbai again in January, who are going to be at the same school doing very, very similar things with the same kids. So it is kind of like a link in a chain, and you really have to remember that. But essentially, for you guys to get the most out of your experience, you really need to be proactive. And I know how hard this can be, especially if you're totally overwhelmed with the culture and the people and everything so different. But you just really have to push yourself past that, and really try and get out there and, kind of get involved. If you stand on the sideline or sit back and be told what to do, no doubt you'll end up waiting a very, very long time and you'll be disappointed. The more initiative that you use, the more people will respect you. You really have to prove yourself, put yourself forward, and get to know the local doctors, the local nurses, or the local teachers at the school, and smile a lot. Like I said, even if you're totally shocked by the poverty or uncomfortable by the heat, just do your best to make friends with the local staff on the placement. If they're having their fifth tea break for the day and you just think, why aren't we working? Um, the hospital's got, 50 people lining up to be seen by the doctor and they're going on another tea break. Just take a deep breath and just take a tea break with them. Things happen a lot slower in the developing world, and people can be a lot more laid back out there. And most importantly, you guys really need to be flexible. Like I said, you're going to have days when it's not busy. In a lot of hospitals in the developing world, it can be extremely chaotic and busy from, outpatients, which will be 7 till 9, and then it might be busy in ward rounds up until midday. There might be a few little things, but generally, a lot of doctors will just clock off and go home, at 1 or 2 o'clock, and volunteers will be left wondering why people aren't working, 24 hours a day. And you're probably going to feel like there are some times where your presence is kind of not needed, or people, don't really understand why you're there. But essentially, you have to remember it's all about participating in the culture, embracing the local practices, learning, and working with the local people. I 100% remember exactly how I felt when I saw the teacher at the orphanage that I was working at hit one of the kids for the first time. It was unbelievably hard how much I had to restrain myself to say anything or immediately run over to the child to see if she was okay. But I restrained myself from doing that. Whether you agree or not, you cannot interfere or tell the local people what is right or wrong. And you must understand that it is the culture, it's the system, and it's the people, and you cannot change this, and you can only work within it. For example, like the teaching methods in most of the countries we work in are almost 30 years behind that of Australia. In Nepal, in Ghana, in India, there's no syllabus, there's no curriculum, there's no structure. We have volunteers arrive on their first day and the teacher just disappears. And then they'll go and find the teacher who is evidently asleep in the breakout room. And similarly, for example, in the medical world, I have no doubt that you guys will see practices and treatment methods that may seem extremely backward, and possibly kind of like barbaric at times as well. But again, like it's really hard to explain, but this is often due to a very, very complex web of a mixture of politics or religion, or undoubtedly a caste system, racial tensions, education, lack of resources, just a huge web of all of these things interplaying. And it's just not as simple as going in there and saying what's right or wrong. So for you guys, you just got to understand that it's all about learning and gaining an appreciation of the local doctors, of the local teachers, of the local nurses, and I guess finding out where you kind of fit in within this. And just as important, we really want you guys to be able to work as a team, be there to support each other, and try and be really inclusive in all of the group activities, and try and be attentive to other people's feelings. I think this is really important for everyone, but especially for those groups who are doing health education workshops in their final week. For these to be successful at all, you must work together as a team. You must plan and do preparation together as a team. Work out where your strengths lie, work out where your knowledge is, and do it, do it together and communicate, because that's the way it's going to be successful. Now, I guess most of the volunteers I speak to, I can tell that they're pretty caring types of people. Um, and you signed up for this because you want to help and you want to make a difference. Um, but remember that you're also dealing with people who have very different personalities and very different upbringings. So it's really important to never make any assumptions. When you're working with locals, watch, listen, and learn. Um, accept that there are cultural differences. You just have to accept it, even if you don't agree with it. For example, if you're a nursing student and you chose this, I guess, because you're genuinely want to care for patients, um, yet your counterparts at the hospital you're visiting might not be as attentive, or have a lack of infection control, for example. This probably has nothing to do with whether they care or not. More so, it's probably because the hospital is way too busy or understaffed, and they just don't have the time to give any individual attention um, within that area. Furthermore, like, the locals that you're working with may not be as familiar to working with Australians. So remember to always be polite and respectful at all times. You are representing Australia, you're representing Antipodeans, and we want these opportunities to continue for future teams. Um, so really use the opportunity to learn from them. They are the professionals in their own country. Um, exchange knowledge and skills, and work together. So again, you're not trying to change things or judge. Especially in the first week, it's all about earning their trust and making friends with as many people as possible. And 100%, and I cannot stress this enough, you need to have a sense of humor no matter what developing country you're going to. In Nepal, there's a strike every other day. Um, on they have festivals as well, all throughout the year, and a lot of these things can be quite unpredictable. In India recently, they've had a huge petrol crisis, and a lot of prices went up quite a lot. This was totally out of our hands. um, Equipment breaking down, that's just going to happen everywhere. A lot of the time things just aren't going to go to plan. So when things do go wrong or don't go to plan, um, just smile and laugh and find something else to do. Be flexible, because spending that time being frustrated or upset will, have a negative impact on your time. So just go with the flow. As I'd say in Ghana, just live on Ghanaian time. Which kind of brings us to cultural differences. I guess I can't really go into too much detail about this. So read up and learn about the do's and don'ts. It is an interesting read, so definitely get the Lonely Planet guide or just use Google. But it's important just to remember that things work really differently overseas, and you need to learn to manage your reactions as well, so you don't look shocked or offended when something happens. Number one is you guys must dress modestly and must dress conservatively. This is mainly for girls, but also for guys as well. Um, Girls, you just don't want to attract any more unwanted attention to yourself. As white females, you're going to be the center of attention no matter where you go. So dressing like the locals will help you kind of fit in a bit better. We'll go through exactly what's exactly required in terms of clothing at your pre-departure workshop. I think behavior is quite important as well, and where you go, it's going to be quite different. For example, the head wobble in India, you can't escape that, and I have no doubt that those going to India will find themselves doing it, not even realizing it after the first week. Um, Tipping, find out if tipping is appropriate in your country. Staring, no matter where you go, like I said, you're going to attract a lot of unwanted attention. People might point and laugh at you. People might want to touch you. If you've got blonde hair, people might want to feel your hair. Essentially, a lot of this is completely harmless. So a lot of the time, we just have to go with the flow. Obviously, yeah, and this can be avoided again if you dress modestly and if you dress conservatively. And there's two more things I wanted to mention with regards to this. One is that generally speaking, people in the developing world are very, very community orientated. And when you meet someone, you'll often find that their first questions you might find quite personal and quite invasive. You know, they'll meet you, and as soon as they find out your name, they'll ask you if you're married, or they'll ask you how many people are in your family. They'll ask you if you've got any brothers or sisters. And then they may start talking about their family. I guess it's quite different to here where, I guess within the first few minutes of getting to know someone, you'll probably ask what job they do or what's their career, or, something not as personal. So don't take offense. It is just the culture and the people, but it will happen pretty much in every country that you'll go to. And finally, time. Time is a completely different concept in the developing world. You often hear sayings like learning to run on Ghanaian time, which I've already used, or something similar. If someone tells you that they're going to pick you up at 10 o'clock in the morning, expect them to be there between 9 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock in the morning. And don't get angry if they're an hour late. This is okay and this is acceptable. And it took me so long to realize this. And despite you boiling up with frustration inside and, thinking, fire, I could have had another hour's sleep. It's just, you just have to take it with a grain of salt and just go with the flow. Okay. We'll go into a lot more detail about personal safety in the pre-departure workshops, but essentially, when you're away, if you're careful, if you're aware of your surroundings all the time, and if you never get too comfortable, then we think you'd be really unlucky to have something happen to you. Generally speaking, you'll find the locals very friendly, very welcoming. They're always so curious to find out where you're from and what you're doing here and where you're working. But despite this, you must always be on your guard. The most common problems that we have with volunteers overseas is basically just petty theft and pickpocketing. And often this happens purely because volunteers get too relaxed in their surroundings. For example, if a volunteer is on a beach in the Maldives and they leave their bag with some money in it and they go off and have a swim or a snorkel, and it'll be gone. Or if there's a group of volunteers out at a restaurant in Tamil in Nepal, and they might just leave their purse on the table and go to the bathroom or something, it'll be gone. So you just have to be really careful all the time. No matter where you're going, all of your valuables, your passport, your credit card, and the major chunk of your money should be locked away in your bag all the time. You don't need to take your passport out with you every day. The only thing that you should have to take out with you during the days is the absolute minimum. So you might want to take $10, a bottle of water, some lip gloss, a hat, the absolute minimum. The rest should stay locked away in your bag. And also be very aware of the image that you're portraying. Like I said before, you really want to try and fit in with the locals as much as possible. Are you wearing an expensive watch? Are you carrying loads of cash, which you're fumbling around with when you're at the markets? Or are you wearing some really, nice earrings? Just leave anything like this at home. You're not going to need any expensive jewelry or any expensive watches. And just be conscious of the image you're portraying. You don't want to come across as a rich Western tourist. Essentially, you just want to attract as minimal amount of attention to yourself as possible. What to do in an emergency. Again, we'll go through this with you at the pre-departure workshop, but in a nutshell, you will have the in-country partner's number saved in your phone, and you can call him or her any time of the day, any time of the night, 24 hours. They have dealt with many, many situations previously, and will be able to provide you guys with the best help. Do think, though, before you call at 2 a.m. if it is an emergency or not, or whether it can wait until the morning. And tips here in Australia are also on call 24 hours a day while you're overseas. So there'll be 5 people on backup, and when you call the number, you leave a message which will get sent to all of our phones. So it'll definitely get sent to mine and Ali's phone. And that support is not only there for you, but also for your next of kin. If they want to call and if they've got any questions, they can always call me or Ali. That's fine. And finally, you guys need to also use each other and support each other. I've already talked a bit about this as well, but you'll find that you will make friendships with everyone in your team really quickly, and keep an eye on each other as well. I often say that these types of things, it's like fitting a friendship of 5 years into the space of a month, because you guys are going to go through all these different emotions together. You're all going to be, have really, really bad days where you might see something that absolutely horrifies you and you'll come home and fall in a heap. And then you'll have other days where something will happen and you'll be totally inspired, and, you'll be on an absolute high. And you'll have all these, the rest of the team members there with you. And it's, just you will be there to support each other and look out for each other as well. And last but not least, I just want to let you know that we just ask that you be wary of calling your family with emergencies, especially if it's the middle of the night in Australia. Just think twice, if there is anything that they can possibly do at that time. If not, just call the in-country partner first. They will let us know, and we can inform your parents if it's necessary. Like, parents always worry, especially if their son or daughter is over in the middle of India or out in Western Africa in Ghana. They get a text message in the middle of the night that gets misconstrued, or that only half of the text message comes through, and it can totally blow the situation out of proportion. So often these things can get lost in translation. So think before you contact your family, and be really careful about leaving messages on their phone or, when you're texting them. So your first port of call is always your in-country partner. And just remember, they've hosted so many volunteers before. They know when an incident is critical, and if there is one, they will contact us so we can keep your family informed and updated at any time of the day, and help offer solutions. So staying healthy overseas, I guess most of the November group, you guys should definitely have had all your vaccinations by now. January group, you should definitely be thinking about getting onto it. Do your research, talk to your doctor or a travel nurse. We recommend the Travel and Medical Vaccination Clinic, and you will get a discount if you go to visit one of them. Obviously, there are going to be essential vaccinations that you're going to need, and there's also going to be ones that are optional. With the optional ones, it is often a very grey area, and the 2 biggest ones that we get questions about are rabies and Japanese encephalitis, and also malaria tablets. You do need to make a personal choice. Do your research, and try with, the more research you do, the better informed your decision will be. I guess, yeah, we can't really give you professional advice, but we can tell you what past volunteers have done and what we've done as well. I did have rabies and I did have JE, but I purely made that decision because I do travel quite a lot, but I know that a lot of volunteers don't get them. Anyway, if you're really confused, just ask us and we can try and do our best to help you out. No matter most countries, you will need good mosquito repellent. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, those who are going to Kathmandu and Pokhara won't really come across many mosquitoes at all. But in most countries, you will need good mosquito repellent, and one with which preferably has 50% DEET. Another huge problem that volunteers often find is getting dehydration. And in a lot of these countries, like Cambodia or Ghana, it's so easy to become dehydrated so fast. And dehydration is like you reach a point and you don't realize that you've reached that point, but it's too far. And as soon as you reach that point, you'll end up in a hospital on a drip. So we can't stress enough, if you're in a humid tropical environment, drink a lot of water. You cannot drink enough water. Leading me on to water, no matter where you're going, do not drink the tap water and do not brush your teeth in the tap water. You guys are only there for 4 weeks. You do not want to take any risks with, drinking any contaminated water. And food, I should also mention food. We'll talk more about food while you're overseas, while you're at your workshop, but you will have to be careful with the food that you eat as well. Generally, the rule of the thumb is if the restaurant's busy, it's okay. If it's quiet and there's no one in there, don't even try. Be careful of salads. Be careful of ordering drinks with ice in them because they would have been made with local tap water. Salads would have been washed with local tap water. And be really, really careful when you eat meat. In so many of these countries, you'll see that refrigeration is very intermittent or it doesn't exist at all. For example, in Nepal, they have blackouts, 4 or 5 hours every day. So you just have to be really careful where you eat your meat, and what the meat is, I guess, as well. And we recommend purchasing a travel kit from the doctors. So they usually provide you with a kit which has, all these antibiotics in them. It'll have some rehydration salts. It might have, some Panadol and things like that. Just really good, particularly the antibiotics. So if you get sick, it saves, 1 or 2 days having to go to the doctor and all of that hassle. If you've got the antibiotics there, you can just start taking them yourself. So I really encourage you guys to get a personal medical kit. And in some countries, it's going to be more necessary than others. Just off the top of my head, those going to Borneo, 100%, like you definitely should purchase a medical kit. If you do get sick, kind of already touched on this, but talk to the in-country partner. They're your first point of contact, regardless if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're vomiting, you feel like crap, just call them and they will be there and they'll support you and let you know what's needed. We have a network of very good and very high standard clinics in all of our countries, so you don't have to worry about whether the needle's going to be clean or anything like that. So in all the countries, you'll be taken to a Western or a high standard clinic for that country, and you will be treated with good care. Insurance is 100% requirement for everyone, and for those who haven't sent in their insurance details to me, please do so soon. And yeah, I was going to say, I remember when I got sick in Nepal, I was really, really sick, and I was pretty nervous where I was going to be taken. And there's this awesome clinic in Kathmandu that honestly, it felt like I was walking into a Western clinic. Had Western doctors, and it was amazing. Not every country has facilities like this, but they are, like I said, very, our partners have a network of high standard clinics. Communication, you'll have to start thinking about how you're going to communicate with your family and your friends back at home. Email is probably one of the easiest ways to do so. Make sure you talk to your country manager, whether that's me or Ali, and find out if your accommodation has Wi-Fi. In some countries it does, like in the Maldives it does, but in Borneo, for example, you won't have access to internet for 3 weeks. So really do your research and find out what you're going to have access to. Take your laptop if you're comfortable. In a lot of countries now, there's a lot of free Wi-Fi cafes where you can just sit down, order a cup of tea and connect to the Wi-Fi. They're all over Cambodia. They're all over Nepal. They're all over India. So, yeah, if you're comfortable, take your laptop. But just make sure that your insurance will cover it in case it gets lost or damaged. Skype is also a great way to keep in touch with your family because it's free. We recommend taking your Australian mobile phone, putting it on international roaming, and unlocking it. So it's really important to have it on international roaming in case something happens in transit, like if your flight's delayed, or if you miss a flight, or if you can't find someone at the airport to pick you up. You're going to need to use a phone. So if you've got your phone on international roaming, then you can make that call. And then in the next couple of days, you can work out whether you want to purchase a local SIM card. In some countries, a local SIM card's provided, but in other countries, it's not. So, in other countries, it won't be needed. Like in Borneo, you won't have any phone reception out in the jungle. So, purchasing a local SIM is really easy. You just have to make sure that your phone is unlocked before you leave Australia. Usually the local SIM is only, $5 or something, and local partners will help you set that up on the first day. It's so much cheaper using a local SIM card rather than using international roaming. I remember when I was in India on my first trip, I had my phone on international roaming and I only made one or two. I didn't even make any phone calls. All I did was receive phone calls. I received 2 or 3 phone calls and sent, a handful of text messages, and my bill was $600. So only use international roaming in an emergency, and we really recommend purchasing a local SIM when you get there. Keep your next of kins updated, Facebook, emails and stuff, but try not to be too reliant on the internet. You're there to experience the country, and just do your best, I would say, to only go on the internet every 2 to 4 days. While you're overseas, Alison and myself will also give regular updates to the in-country regular updates to your next of kin. So we'll send weekly updates, just letting them know how the group's getting on, and everything like that. Sorry guys, nearly finished. I realised that I have gone over time, so there's only a few slides left. You also really need to start thinking about how you're going to take your money over. We recommend either taking a cash passport or a Visa card, and then also taking a handful of US dollars. You could take Australian dollars, but US dollars is the international currency and is most widely accepted in all banks around the world. So I would probably recommend taking a couple of $100 US cash and then having the rest on a cash passport or a Visa card. There are plenty of ATMs in every country that we go to where you can withdraw cash. And there's also lots of banks where you can exchange money into the local currency as well. Talk to either myself or Ali about getting a rough guide on how much you should be budgeting for your trip. Some countries are a lot more expensive than others, and in some countries there's a lot more things to do on weekends than others. So in Peru and Pokhara, a lot of volunteers will go paragliding or bungee jumping, which tends to be quite expensive. In the Maldives, you might go to a resort again, which is also quite expensive. But if you're somewhere like Ghana, your weekends are going to be pretty cheap. So just talk to myself or Ali to get an idea on how much you should be budgeting for. I just talked about travel insurance, but yes, it's absolutely essential for everyone. If you haven't already purchased it, do so now. As soon as you start outlaying big sums of money, then you do need to purchase it, because if something happens, you want to be covered. We partner with Covermore, which I'm sure most of you know by now. If you book through them, through our website, you will get a discount as well on the basics cover. Fundraising, I guess, fundraising is kind of three folds. Some volunteers fundraise for their placement costs, some volunteers fundraise for donations to the project, and some will fundraise for purchasing resources for their project. If you need a letter of support, often this gives you a bit more credibility when you're approaching like local businesses or the local council. Myself and Ali would be more than happy to write a letter of support for you. And if you do end up thinking that you're going to take over resources from Australia and you're going to be over the weight limit for your flight, then just let us know and we're happy to write you a letter which you can pass on to the airline, because airlines are usually quite generous in giving or in waivering the fee. So they'll usually give like 10 kilos of extra baggage for free to the volunteer. So just let us know if you want us to do that. I just want to touch on one thing with fundraising though. We really encourage you to, rather than purchase things here, for the majority, just buy it in country. For number one, it's so much cheaper. Like, for $5 in Australia, you could buy 2 toothbrushes, but for $5 in Nepal, you could buy at least 10 toothbrushes, for example. If you buy your resources over there, then at least you'll know exactly what the centre or the clinic or the school needs. It would really be annoying to bring over, 10 bottles of multivitamins and then realise that actually no, they've got multivitamins, they need deworming tablets. So that's another reason. And also the weight reason, which I mentioned before, saves you lugging it halfway across the world. So where does your money go? Very important question. And I guess essentially we do our very best to try and keep the cost down as much as possible for you guys. And we do try and be as transparent as possible at the same time. But we do ask that you try and understand that there is so much work that goes on in these projects and for these projects behind the scenes. I guess for all the setup and all the management of them, ensuring the placements are sustainable and worthwhile, managing the risk, etc. It really, as simple as it seems, it's just not as simple as working out how much your host family gets paid and then kind of wondering where the rest of the money goes. It really is not that simple. So we have developed a pie chart, which is in your in-country manual, and you will get that, obviously, to help you kind of see where the costs have gone and kind of what you've paid for, I guess. But essentially, it's all about understanding and knowing that you are taking part in a well-researched, a well-managed, a risk-managed, a sustainable, and a worthwhile program with all the facets involved, which all those facets are listed on your screen right now. What to pack? This is in your handbook, and it obviously does differ for every country. So I'm not going to talk too much about this, and we'll definitely go through it more in your pre-departure workshop. But the list you can see is generally what you'll need wherever you go: a water bottle, an adapter, hand sanitizer, mosquito repellent, a sarong, a medical kit, a day pack with a zip, all really important. And there's obviously some things that are very specific to different countries, like 100% those going to Nepal will need a head torch. 100% those going to Borneo will need a mosquito net. So just talk to me or Ali if you've got any questions, and I definitely recommend using the Facebook page so you guys can talk about what you're purchasing and what you're getting, and me and Ali can give our advice on there as well. We have a blog, so you can access the blog from our homepage, and we would really love to have a blog for every team, a blog writer for every team. So if anyone wants to nominate themselves, that would be fantastic. The good thing is that you do get paid for your writing. You'll get $100 at the end of your trip. And it's just a weekly blog, so you're only going to need to write 4 blogs. And guys, it's such a simple thing. You're going to be writing emails to your families back at home. So, a lot of it's going to be copy and paste and then re-edited a bit to, make it change the format. And yeah, I think it'll be great. And we'll put it up on the website. So if anyone would like to do that for your trip, if anyone's a keen writer, then just let me know and I'll put your name down for it and give you some more information. And last but not least, what next? So the paperwork for the November group is overdue. So I have got most of everyone's, and I know Ali's in the same boat. But those who haven't sent me in everything, or Ali, we need them as soon as possible. We're, working out arrival times, working out accommodation prior to the placement if necessary. So please get all of the following things into us. We need flight itineraries, insurance, passport copy. We need the online medical form filled out, a copy of your CV if you're a health student, and you're working with Children's Check. And for the January group, your deadline for this is the 16th of November. Okay, so I'm really sorry that I've gone over time. I had no idea that it would take this long. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And if tonight's webinar has raised any more questions, then you know what to do. Just email, or we're just a phone call away. I look forward to meeting all of my team members in the coming weeks at the workshops, and I know Ali feels exactly the same. So good luck for the rest of your preparation. And for those who I don't get to meet, good luck. I hope you have an amazing time overseas. And we look forward to hearing how it all goes. So, okay, before I say goodbye, we'll be sticking around for the next 15 minutes or so answering any questions that you've got. And I have recorded this, so I'll do my best to put it up on YouTube hopefully tomorrow. And if anyone wants a copy of the presentation, just let me know and I'll email it out to you guys. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.